90% of the decisions you make every day are wrong. That's not my opinion. That's the conclusion proven by Nobel Prize winning economist Daniel Kahneman through 40 years of research. Your brain, the organ you trust the most, is actually using a highly sophisticated system of deception to control every choice you make. From what you eat for breakfast to which stocks you invest in, many of these decisions aren't the result of true rational thinking. They're made while your brain is running on autopilot. And most of the time, you don't even realize you're being manipulated. This isn't alarmist talk. Kahneman's research shows that about 90% of our daily decisions are dominated by System 1, the fast thinking system. This system is like the autopilot in your brain, fast, efficient, but prone to mistakes. Meanwhile, System 2, the slow, rational thinking system, is so energy-consuming that it often chooses to stay idle. In today's video, we'll follow Kahneman, a Nobel laureate, to fully expose 7 of the brain's most common tricks. And you'll walk away with a practical set of anti-deception thinking tools, so that in every major decision, whether it's spending, investing, or planning your life, you can take back control. First, let's meet the 2 main characters inside your brain. System 1 is like an impatient friend, extremely fast, relying on intuition and experience to make judgments. For example, if you see a tiger, you don't stop thinking, you run. When you smell good food, your mouth starts watering automatically. That's System 1 at work. System 1 handles everyday tasks like walking, driving, eating, and even reading facial expressions, figuring out whether someone is happy or angry. It's like a highly experienced driver who can react instantly. But here's the problem. Sometimes this driver takes the wrong road. System 2, on the other hand, is a slow and thoughtful thinker. It requires focus and effort. Solving complex math problems, planning major life decisions, or learning new skills all require System 2. It thinks slowly, but it's more accurate and reliable. You can think of System 1 as autopilot mode, and System 2 as manual driving mode. For everyday city driving, autopilot is usually enough. But when the road gets complicated, or when you're facing an important decision, you need to switch to manual control. A well-known study found that when shoppers were presented with 24 types of jam versus just 6, the results were surprising. The stand with 24 choices attracted more customers, but only 3% actually made a purchase. The stand with just 6 choices had a purchase rate of 30%. This is a classic System 1 response to too many options, decision paralysis. System 1 quickly scans the choices, realizes the information load is too heavy, and simply gives up. System 2 could analyze things rationally, but it takes too much effort, so most people don't bother activating it. We see this everywhere in daily life. During big shopping festivals, when you see endless coupons and limited time discounts, System 1 gets excited. Do I need it? Doesn't matter, buy it first. And you end up with a pile of things you never use. That's System 1 in action. Now let's look at one of System 1's most common tricks, confirmation bias. This bias makes us believe only what we want to believe, automatically filtering out information that contradicts our expectations. Imagine this scenario. You support a particular political view. When scrolling through the news, you instinctively click on articles that agree with you and ignore opposing voices. That's confirmation bias at work. Studies show that when it comes to political opinions, people overwhelmingly prefer information that aligns with their own views and ignore opposing evidence. It's like building an information bubble for yourself, trapped inside and unable to see the full picture. Investing is especially vulnerable to confirmation bias. When investors see a stock hit the daily limit several days in a row, System 1 gets excited and assumes it will keep going up. They focus only on positive news that supports their belief and ignore risk warnings. The result? Buying at the top and watching the price fall. In hindsight, many obvious warning signs were there. But System 1 automatically filtered them out. There was a real case in China's stock market. A tech stock surged repeatedly in 2021, attracting massive retail investors. They focused on hype and short-term performance, while ignoring risks like intense competition and low technological barriers. The stock eventually fell more than 70% from its peak. Confirmation bias also affects how we judge people. If your first impression of someone is positive, you'll subconsciously justify their behavior afterward. If your first impression is negative, everything they do feels wrong. It's like wearing tinted glasses. You only see the colors you expect. To conserve mental energy, System 1 reinforces existing beliefs, keeping us locked inside the world we've constructed. Next, let's talk about anchoring, another favorite trick of System 1. Anchoring makes us rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, fixing our thinking within a narrow range. Retail promotions are classic examples. A jacket is marked at $1,000, then discounted to $500. People feel like they've scored a great deal, but that $1,000 price may have been a fake anchor designed to make $500 seem cheap. Real estate sales use this all the time. An agent first shows you an overpriced apartment, then shows you the one they actually want to sell. By comparison, the second one suddenly feels like great value. In a famous experiment, participants were asked to estimate the percentage of African countries in the UN. One group was first asked whether it was higher or lower than 10%. Another group was asked whether it was higher or lower than 65%. The first group's average estimate was 25%. The second group's was 45%. That's the power of anchoring. You see it everywhere. Expensive menu items exist not to be sold, but to make other dishes seem affordable. Online, when you see original price $999, now $399, System 1 automatically labels it a bargain. Anchoring also affects salary negotiations. If the other side starts with a low number, your expectations drop. If they start high, your expectations rise. Even worse, anchoring distorts how we judge risk. If the first thing you hear about an investment is positive, you'll downplay negative information that comes later. System 1 also has a particularly ironic trick: overconfidence bias. This bias makes us overly confident in our abilities, knowledge, and judgment. We almost always think we're better than average. Studies show that over 90% of drivers believe their driving skills are above average, something that's mathematically impossible. But System 1 creates this illusion. Overconfidence is rampant in investing. Surveys show that more than half of investors have lost money since opening their accounts. Yet when entering the market, most believe they would profit. Smokers show the same bias. Even though smoking is a major cause of lung cancer, and heavy smokers face a risk 5.7 times higher than non-smokers, most smokers believe they personally are less likely to get cancer. Ironically, people with lower ability are often more overconfident than those with real competence. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. The less you know, the less you realize how little you know. When estimating intelligence, men tend to overestimate themselves, while women tend to underestimate themselves. Again, System 1 at work. It evaluates us based on hopes and expectations, not objective facts. In the workplace, overconfidence shows up constantly. People exaggerate their abilities in interviews, only to realize later that the job is far harder than expected. Project plans are overly optimistic, leading to repeated problems during execution. Overconfidence also hurts learning. When you think you already understand something, you stop studying. When you think you're smart enough, you stop putting in effort. The result is overestimating your ability and underestimating the difficulty of the task. Another common System 1 trick is the availability heuristic. This bias makes us judge probability based on how easily examples come to mind, rather than actual statistics. The classic example is fear of flying. Plane crashes make headlines, so they're easy to remember. As a result, people overestimate how dangerous flying is. In reality, flying is one of the safest forms of transportation. According to the International Air Transport Association, in 2022, the global accident rate was 0.27 per million flights. That means you'd have to fly every day for over 10,000 years to encounter one accident. Car accidents are far more common, but because we drive daily, System 1 doesn't overreact to them. In medicine, availability bias appears when someone hears about a side effect from a treatment and becomes overly fearful, even if statistics show the risk is minimal. In investing, it's everywhere. When an industry is hot, and the media constantly reports success stories, System 1 assumes opportunities are everywhere. But this is often survivorship bias. Failed companies don't make the news. During the 2020 pandemic, medical stocks surged. Many people followed the hype after seeing media success stories, ignoring the long cycles and high failure rates in the healthcare industry. Availability bias also shapes how we view social issues. If the media frequently reports a type of crime, we assume it's common. If coverage is rare, we assume it's uncommon, even if real data says otherwise. In 1983, Kahneman and Tversky conducted a landmark experiment. Participants were told about a woman named Linda, 31, single, outspoken, a philosophy major, concerned with social justice, and active in anti-nuclear protests. They were then asked which was more likely: Linda is a bank teller, or Linda is a bank teller who is active in the feminist movement. 85% chose the second option, even those trained in statistics. But according to probability theory, the probability of two events occurring together is always lower than one event alone. That's the power of the representativeness heuristic. Our brains care more about how well a story fits a stereotype than about math. In medical diagnosis, this bias can be disastrous. A doctor may see chest pain and assume a heart attack because it fits the pattern, ignoring other possibilities like acid reflux or anxiety. In investing, representativeness has ruined countless people. A company grows for 3 years, and investors assume it will grow forever. A fund manager beats the market twice, and people call him a genius. But past performance does not guarantee future results. Now imagine this choice. Option A, you are guaranteed to gain $1,000. Option B, you have a 50% chance to gain $2,000 and a 50% chance to gain nothing. Most people choose A, even though the expected value is the same. Now flip the scenario. Option A, you are guaranteed to lose $1,000. Option B, You have a 50% chance to lose $2,000 and a 50% chance to lose nothing. This time, most people choose B, even though the expected loss is identical. Kahneman found that people feel losses about 2 to 2.5 times more strongly than gains. Losing $1,000 requires gaining $2,000 to $2,500 to feel balanced. This made sense evolutionarily. In early human societies, losing food could mean death, while extra food was just a bonus. But in modern society, this mechanism has become a barrier to progress. Look at investors who panic sell during market crashes. Young people who don't dare to start businesses because they fear failure. Middle-aged workers who reject better opportunities because they fear losing their current jobs. Loss aversion is quietly limiting countless people's potential. When representativeness and loss aversion combine, they create perfect decision-making disasters. The 2008 financial crisis is a textbook example. Bankers saw housing prices rise for years and assumed the trend would continue. Driven by representativeness and afraid of missing out due to loss aversion, they piled in. When the bubble burst, loss aversion made them hold on instead of selling, leading to massive losses. In personal life, this combination is just as dangerous. A young person enters an industry because it looks promising. When reality disappoints, loss aversion prevents them from admitting mistakes and exiting early. They sink deeper and deeper. Kahneman's research shows that combined cognitive biases can push error rates in major decisions above 70%. So what do? Do we just let our brains deceive us? Of course not. Here are practical strategies to fight back. First, slow down. Before major decisions, set a cooling-off period. For investments, wait 24 hours before acting. This gives System 2 time to step in. For shopping, add items to your cart and wait a day. Often you'll realize you don't need them. Second, actively seek opposing views. This is the best way to fight confirmation bias. Before deciding, deliberately look for arguments against your position. In investing, don't just read bullish news. Look for risk warnings. When planning, imagine failure scenarios, not just success. Third, build a decision checklist. Just like pilots use checklists before takeoff, we can use them for important decisions. Ask yourself, am I being anchored? Am I only seeing supportive information? Am I overconfident? Am I being misled by vivid examples? This forces System 2 to engage. Fourth, seek external opinions. Trusted friends or professionals aren't emotionally invested like you are. They can provide more objective perspectives, especially for life decisions like career changes, buying a home, or marriage. Fifth, develop critical thinking. This is the most fundamental solution. By learning logic, statistics, and critical thinking, you strengthen System 2. The more you understand cognitive biases and behavioral economics, the harder it is for your brain to trick you. At the core, this all comes down to one thing. Take control of your thinking. Don't let your brain run your life on autopilot. System 1 is fast and convenient, like an experienced driver who sometimes makes mistakes. System 2 is effortful, but it's what keeps you on the right road. System 1 traps are everywhere, from shopping and investing to relationships and career choices. But the good news is, once you recognize these biases, you gain the power to resist them. Just like knowing how a magic trick works makes it stop fooling you. Next time you face an important decision, ask yourself, is System 1 in control, or is System 2 thinking? Am I being influenced by a cognitive bias? Have you ever caught your brain tricking you? Share your experience in the comments. Truly smart people aren't those who never make mistakes, but those who know how to avoid repeating them. Truly rational people aren't emotionless. They know how to let reason guide emotion. That's it for today. See you next time.